Nelson escaping Holiday. The lob for Howard. Oh, man. That was one.
Dwight Howard, if y'all didn't already know, was a beast in his heyday. He was one of the few players in NBA history to get drafted straight out of high school, and for good reasons. I mean, back in his senior year, when he played with the Southwest Atlanta Christian Academy, Dwight averaged 25 points, 18 rebounds, 8 blocks, and 3.5 assists, while leading his team to a 31-2 record en route to the state title. Then when he was drafted into the NBA, first overall back in 2004, he didn't disappoint either. You see, upon entering the league, Dwight immediately helped the Orlando Magic go from a 21-win team to a 36-win team. Then by his third year, he was already selected as an All-Star, an All-NBA player, and from there, he became the best center in the league for over half a decade. His most notable accomplishment came in 2009 when he eliminated MVP LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Finals. Today, he's not exactly the player he once was, but standing at 6'11" and weighing 265 pounds, he's still a force of nature. And I honestly thought his days in the league were over when he decided to go play overseas last year, until these headlines started popping up everywhere on the internet. Dwight Howard and the Golden State Warriors? Dwight Howard and Stephen Curry? Superman and the Chef? Interesting. So, as y'all probably know by now, Dwight Howard has spent the last year playing basketball in Taiwan with the T1 League. He did really well in his debut season, averaging 23 points, 16 rebounds, and 5 assists per game, en route to earning a host of awards similar to how he started off his NBA career. But unfortunately, his team's performance was dreadful, finishing in 6th place, and if you were wondering how many teams there are in the T1 League, the answer is 6. Everything looked fun for Dwight though, and it looked like he was all finished with his NBA career, and was just doing one last hurrah across the world, but then came a problem. You see, in his first year, he was offered a little over $1 million to play in the league, but in his second year, his team decided to cut his pay by 65%. Dwight felt really disrespected by this and voiced out his feelings. Eventually, the team's CEO was asked about this, and he responded that part of the reason was because Dwight only played 20 out of a total 30 games due to injuries, and that actually, in the new payment scheme, there's actually a lot of bonuses like a winning bonus, losing bonus, etc., which is combined with a fixed base salary, and that as long as Dwight can play seriously and play hard, that his wage wouldn't be any lower than the previous year. Dwight didn't like this one bit, probably because in the NBA, everyone gets paid whether they play or they sit. If you ask me, however, this new payment plan might not be such a bad idea in the NBA, considering what some players are doing these days. But regardless, Dwight's trying to get back into the league now, but before we go over his possible fit with the Golden State Warriors, there's another important question we need to ask ourselves. As of today, Dwight Howard is 37 years old, but if you watch his highlights online, he doesn't look 37 years old. I mean, he looks really fit at the moment, like Miami Heat 8% body fat level fit. Then, being 6'11" and 265 pounds of pure muscle, although he doesn't have the hops he used to have, he's still a bulldozer in the paint. I mean, in his debut game in Taiwan just about a year ago, the man put up 38 points, 25 rebounds, 9 assists, 4 blocks, while hitting 2 trays. I know it was just the Taiwanese league where the average player is 6'2" instead of 6'7" like in the NBA, but still, that tells me that he's still at least as good as he was when he helped the Lakers win a championship during the 2020 bubble. Then the cherry on top is, he only played in 20 games throughout the past year, so his body should be as fresh as ever. You know, one of the biggest negatives that teams have on Dwight is his locker room presence, that he negatively affects the players.
I think he's disliked by a lot of the players now. Wow. They're starting to dislike him a lot because what Dwight does is, you see all the smiles and all the antics. That is getting on the people's nerve. That's getting on players' nerve.
Then when he went to play with the Hornets back in 2018, one of the worst franchises in league history, the reports say that even they did not like him. The only reason is those reports were back when Dwight was a bit younger, and I feel that it's only his past reputation that's holding him back now, not the person he is today. I mean, I know when he went to play with the Lakers that he wasn't a star anymore, but the man definitely contributed a lot that season, and when I closely followed what happened in the bubble, Dwight appeared like he matured a lot and was actually adding to team chemistry instead of taking away from it. Like, in addition to coming in and doing their job, I still remember Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee being the energy guys on the bench, which is a quality that every championship team needs. And you know what else championship teams need? A stretch five. Like, believe it or not, Dwight Howard actually participated in Taiwan's three-point shooting competition and, in this three-point contest, he already made more threes than Ben Simmons had in his whole career. All jokes aside, for 10 to 15 minutes a game at a veteran's minimum salary, Dwight Howard would be huge for any teams with championship aspirations. And that leads me to the next big point. So, it's not a secret that in order for the Warriors to get out of the West, they gotta go through the Nuggets. And so far on the Warriors team, they don't really have a big body that can bother or slow down Nikola Jokic. But evidently, from the 2020 Lakers versus Nuggets matchup, Dwight can.
Listening in to our broadcast here.
Howard knocks it out of Jokic's hand.
It's not just Jokic either. If Dwight can play a reserve role with the Warriors and just give 10 to 15 minutes per game while defending against opposing team centers, this would patch up a huge hole in Golden State. I mean, having someone who stands 6'11" and weighs 265 pounds, who's still decently athletic, who gives it his all on limited minutes per game is pretty much exactly the type of player Steph Curry and the gang needs. As of the moment per reports, Steve Kerr doesn't deny Howard's ability. Instead, what the Warriors are most interested in is the former #1 pick's mindset, acceptance of a role, and desire to be a good vet for the young guys. It's clear at this point that the one thing the Warriors are trying to avoid at all costs is a repeat of last year where big personalities clashed and created a rift in the locker room. And evidently, if Dwight could make a positive impact in the locker room, his presence will be immensely beneficial for Steve Kerr and the Warriors. I mean, Golden State will become the Monstars again with Chris Paul, Steph, Klay, Draymond, Wiggins, and now Dwight? Sheesh! Talk about a lot of players who know what it takes to be the best of the best. But moving on, reports are saying that the Warriors are just treating this as another regular workout, that the headlines don't mean that he's a member of the team, but make no mistake, if his mindset is on the same wavelength as Steve Kerr's, he'll be wearing a Warriors jersey in no time because honestly, looking at the pros and cons, it's a no-brainer. I mean, not only defense, but could you imagine the pick and roll combinations that he'll have with Steph Curry and Chris Paul? That might quite possibly be the versatility that Steph Curry said the Warriors were lacking last season. At the same time, though, could you imagine Chris Paul, Draymond Green, and Dwight Howard all together in a heated situation? Steph Curry and Steve Kerr are going to be face-palming themselves if that situation ever happened.